My sweet, sweet Chloe, I wish I could be there for you after such a situation with your parents. I am so sorry that you have to go through it all. But I am confident things will get better. Don't worry about the delay to your move. That will give us enough time to plan everything better and leave the house in wonderful condition. Also, spring is such a beautiful time for new beginnings. Have you thought about what you'd like to do after you quit and live here in Bermond Hill? We did have a lovely time in library. Thank you for asking. My parents and I decorated everything quite cosily and had a very peaceful time. I really longed for the special atmosphere described in our grandmother's and Aunt Florence's stories. But it was nice to be back home. It always brings back beautiful childhood memories. I also have some news. You won't believe how easy it was to find out about St. Clair House. Many of my students returned to school with new toys and sledges. As you know, their reality is quite different here. Digging around a bit, I found out that most of those presents were donations that came from Longdale, from a charity called St. Clair House. My colleagues didn't tell me much, but everything seems to indicate that the order continues operating through this charity. I think we'll be able to find out a lot more when we visit Robin Johnson in person and you meet with your solicitor, Annelie Woodhart. The pieces of the puzzle are suddenly fitting together. And now, to finish my letter, I will write one of my favorite stories from my grandmother's winter journal. It is called The Night of the Winter Lady. Rose and I love our room at Aunt Florence's. We always looked forward to visit her and sleeping in that room. But since we moved here and the room is ours, our favorite nights are the ones spent in the main room by the fireplace, hearing Aunt Florence's stories. Last night was one of the best ones. First, Rose and I carried the mattresses and blankets into the room, while Aunt Florence and Bonnie were preparing the hot water bottles and some sweet treats. Then they asked us to make the beds and light all the candles. They brought trays with tea, pastries and chocolates. When everything was ready, we sat down on our makeshift beds and Aunt Florence picked up an old book with a beautiful white cover and a gilt spine. We all waited silently for Aunt Florence to find her favorite fable. The sound of falling snow and whispering wind was interrupted by turning pages, the crackling of fire, and the clinking of teacups. Aunt Florence loves stories about witches, so she picked one that kept us on the edge of our seats and laughing for many hours. It was called The Night of the Winter Lady, and started like this. It was a cold night, and the wind was blowing furiously against the wooden roof.